Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science Channel. Tonight, we drift into one of the most vibrant and astonishing ecosystems on our planet. A world built not by mountains or forests, but by tiny living architects working quietly beneath the waves. Coral reefs are so full of color and biodiversity that even the ocean seems to move differently around them. They are places where new life blooms and where entire underwater cities rise from the work of microscopic creatures. Here, nature unfolds in ancient ways. New life rises from the deep. Towers of living stone grow upwards as tiny builders do their work. The reef becomes a city without streets, a shelter for rare animals, and a living memory of a forgotten world. Every ridge tells a story written in minerals and light, and every hidden chamber holds its own quiet secrets. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, just breathe. Allow your body to soften, and let the gentle rhythm of the ocean cradle your thoughts. Let's begin. Some corals build skeletons stronger than stone. The hard framework of many reef builders is made of crystalline minerals arranged with astonishing precision. Tiny polyps extract dissolved substances from seawater and place them molecule by molecule into intricate patterns. Under a microscope, the result resembles finely engineered architecture, full of arches, cross braces, and microscopic ridges. These shapes spread stress, resist cracking, and allow the structure to flex slightly without failing. Waves and storms constantly test this design, slamming into the outer wall of the reef with enormous force. Yet the skeleton often holds, surviving impacts that would shatter many human-made materials. Engineers study these natural frameworks to understand how such small organisms create large, durable structures that endure centuries of physical stress, chemical attack, and abrasive organisms. The reef does not grow simply as a wall. It becomes a layered, resilient composite that quietly absorbs the energy of an entire ocean. In the Coral Triangle, new species are still being found every year. This region of tropical sea, stretching across parts of Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific, is often compared to a vast laboratory of evolution. Countless islands, shifting currents, and varying depths create a puzzle of habitats packed close together. Each bay, channel, and submerged slope can hold its own community of corals, fishes, and invertebrates, slightly different from the next. When scientists return to familiar reefs with better cameras and fresh eyes, they often notice tiny differences in fin shapes, color patterns, or coral branches. Genetic studies then reveal that what once looked like a single widespread species is actually several distinct lineages, each confined to a narrow corner of the region. New discoveries include minuscule gobies hiding inside coral heads, shrimp with unique social systems, and corals with unrecorded growth forms. The more carefully researchers look, the more the map of life in this triangle fractures into intricate detail. Reef fish use changing light patterns as a hidden language. Sunlight entering the water is scattered, filtered, and reflected by every moving surface around a reef. Fins shimmer, sand flashes, and the sides of coral blocks glint as waves pass overhead. Many reef fishes possess eyes and skin that can detect subtle changes in brightness and color that human divers barely notice. A quick roam of the body, a slight tilt, or a shift in iridescent markings can send a clear message to others nearby. It might signal readiness to mate, a warning about a lurking predator, or an invitation to join a hunting group. Some species adjust special cells in their skin to alter how they reflect certain wavelengths, so that an individual almost seems to switch on a private visual channel. In the crowded, noisy reef environment, where sound and scent are already heavily used, light becomes another pathway for quiet, rapid communication. A single reef can host more life than a tropical rainforest. Within a relatively small area of underwater habitat, the number of species and the density of individuals can reach astonishing levels. Corals provide cliffs, ledges, tiny caves, overhangs, and sheltered hollows, each offering different levels of light, flow, and protection. Every surface is real estate. One side of a coral branch might be shaded and cool, while the other side basks in bright, warm light. Different organisms choose each microhabitat, from sponges and tunicates that cling to the underside of ledges to anemones perched on the tops of rocks. The spaces between coral heads shelter young fish and invertebrates that rarely stray far from cover. On a single dive, a careful observer might pass hundreds of species of fish, crustaceans, worms, mollusks, and other life forms, all layered into the three-dimensional maze. The result is a density of interactions that rivals the busiest forest canopy on land. Night diving reveals coral creatures that never appear by day. When the sun sets and the blue of the water deepens, the character of a reef changes entirely. Many daytime fish retreat into crevices, changing color and becoming still. In their place, a different group of animals emerges from hiding. Long-legged crabs roam openly across the coral. Brittle stars uncurl from cracks, and hunting worms extend feathery tentacles into the passing currents. Some corals that seemed smooth and hard in daylight unfurl delicate feeding structures, transforming into crowns of tentacles ready to snare drifting plankton. The water itself fills with small, translucent creatures that rose from deeper layers as darkness fell. Predators adapted to low light glide through this new crowd, using sensitive eyes and lateral lines to track movement. A diver with a gentle flashlight sees a world that was almost invisible only an hour earlier, revealing how much of reef life is tuned to the cycle of night and day. Some reefs grow on the rusting bones of old shipwrecks. When a vessel sinks in the right kind of water, the metal hull and remaining structures quickly become a blank canvas for colonization. Tiny drifting larvae of corals, sponges, and algae settle onto every surface, finding grip in scratches, bolts, and flaking paint. Over time, the sharp edges soften under layers of growing life. Hard corals begin to add bulk, building mounds and branching forms that break up the straight lines of human design. Fish soon arrive to shelter among the new formations, exploring corridors and open holds now crowded with movement. The wreck slowly transforms from an isolated piece of debris into a functioning part of the surrounding seascape. Its surfaces channel currents, create shade, and offer feeding platforms. In places where natural hard ground is scarce, these structures can become important stepping stones for reef communities, proving that even the remnants of human accidents can be reshaped into living tar. Architecture. Red sea corals thrive in warmth that would kill most others. In this long, narrow body of water, temperatures and salt levels often climb well beyond what typical reef builders prefer. Yet many local corals have developed adaptations that allow their cells to function in conditions that would stress or bleach relatives in cooler islands. The internal machinery that handles heat-damaged molecules works with unusual efficiency, and the partnerships with microscopic algae are tuned to withstand intense sunlight and high salinity. Some colonies reside very close to shorelines where daily fluctuations are extreme, so they experience repeated challenges from low tides and sudden warming. Over many generations, natural selection has favored individuals whose tissues and symbionts cope best with these swings. As a result, certain reefs in this region have become of great interest to scientists searching for insights into resilience. They demonstrate that coral survival is not a single story, but a spectrum shaped by local history and environment. Certain corals build structures taller than fully grown people. Massive reef-building species can slowly accumulate layer upon layer of mineral skeleton until the resulting mound or column surpasses human height. Each year, the living tissue on the surface adds only a thin coat, yet decades and centuries stack together into impressive bulk. A diver approaching one of these giants sees not a static boulder, but a living skin draped over a dense archive of former growth. The size of such formations changes the geometry of the reef itself. They cast broad, sheltered zones where delicate organisms can attach, and they steer currents into complex patterns that distribute food and larvae. Some of these large colonies become landmarks for local animals, used as navigation points, meeting places, and spawning sites. The fact that such towering structures arise from the cumulative work of countless tiny animals highlights how patient biological processes can reshape even seemingly stable seafloors. Some reef creatures can see ultraviolet light that humans cannot imagine. The eyes of many fishes and invertebrates contain pigments and structures that respond to wavelengths beyond the familiar rainbow. To them, the reef is overlaid with patterns and contrasts that remain invisible to most divers. Fin edges may blaze with signals in the ultraviolet range, coral surfaces may show hidden spot patterns, and the bodies of potential mates or rivals may carry markings that completely vanish outside this special tear. View. This extra channel of sight can help animals distinguish their own species from similar-looking neighbors, even when human observers confuse them. It can also reveal differences between healthy and unhealthy tissues on corals or prey items, allowing fine-tuned choices when feeding or selecting habitat. By viewing the same landscape through a wider spectrum, these creatures inhabit a sensory world that is richer and more detailed than our own, shaped by subtle flashes and glows we simply do not see. Some coral reefs are home to species found nowhere else in the entire ocean. On some isolated reefs, the animals and corals that live there have evolved in quiet separation for so long that they exist in no other place on Earth. Currents, temperature patterns, and geographic distance create invisible walls around these underwater neighborhoods, and over many generations, local populations drift away from their relatives elsewhere. A small fish might adapt to a certain kind of branching coral, or a snail might specialize in grazing a specific film of algae that grows only under that reef's light and water conditions. Over time, their bodies and behaviors become tuned to that one environment, until the reef itself is the only world they can truly use. If that single habitat is lost, the entire lineage disappears with it. In this way, each remote coral system becomes a vault for unique evolutionary experiments, but can never be repeated in quite the same way. The reefs of Palau contain hidden caves filled with ancient corals. Within the limestone maze of Palau's rock islands, explorers have found submerged passages that open into quiet underwater rooms. Inside these spaces, ancient coral formations lie preserved in stillness, protected from waves and storms for centuries. Some of these corals grew during very different ocean conditions, and their preserved skeletons contain clues about long-vanished sea levels, storms, and temperature shifts. The water inside the caves often moves more slowly than in the surrounding sea, creating pools of calm where unusual organisms gather. These shadowed chambers also act as refuges for species that prefer dim light, including sponges, soft corals, and small crustaceans. The caves connect with outer reefs through narrow cracks and tunnels that guide in fresh currents and drifting plankton, yet the environment remains quiet compared to the open sea. Many of these formations may have grown when the islands were shaped differently than they are today, making them natural time capsules shaped by geology and biology together. Certain corals glow like lanterns under blue light. Some reef-building corals contain proteins that absorb one color of light and release another, creating a subtle glow when illuminated by the right wavelengths. Divers who use soft blue lights at night often see delicate rings, spots, or streaks of color shining from the surface of coral colonies. These glowing patterns can help shield the coral tissues from intense sunlight or assist microscopic algae living inside the coral by distributing light more evenly across their cells. The glow can also attract small, drifting creatures that move towards certain colors, bringing food within reach of the coral's feeding structures. The proteins responsible for this effect vary widely, producing greens, oranges, and faint reds depending on species and environment. Scientists study these pigments for insights into cell protection and underwater communication, yet the corals themselves continue to use this quiet shimmer in ways that are still being uncovered. Some reef fish farm algae gardens on coral surfaces. Certain herbivorous fishes carefully tend patches of algae that grow on reef rock and coral rubble. These gardens are not accidental. The fish chase away intruders that attempt to graze on their chosen turf, and they trim unwanted algae types that could smother the growth they prefer. Over time, the patch becomes a controlled ecosystem shaped by the repeated actions of the fish. The gardeners return many times a day to maintain the correct texture of the algae, scraping only the top layer and allowing the lower filaments to regrow. Other species recognize the defended territory and avoid crossing into it, understanding that the small guardian will chase away anything that threatens its food supply. These cultivated gardens offer steady nutrition through seasons of change, giving the farmer fish an advantage when plankton levels and drifting food sources vary. The partnership between behavior, environment, and algae growth forms a miniature example of ecosystem engineering. Coral skeletons store centuries of ocean history in their layers. As a coral colony grows, it adds new layers to its inner structure, year after year. Each layer contains chemical traces of the water conditions present when it formed. Slight shifts in temperature, salinity, and nutrient levels become recorded within the minerals of the skeleton. Researchers can remove thin cores from large coral heads and read these patterns much like tree rings. The information reveals changes in ocean circulation, rainfall patterns, and storm frequency over long stretches of time. In regions where historical measurements are limited, these coral records provide critical windows into past climates. They show when warm currents strengthened, when river runoff increased, and when large-scale ocean patterns changed direction. The coral itself continues living at the surface, while the deeper layers silently keep their archive. This natural record-keeping allows modern scientists to understand how seas once behaved, long before instruments could measure them. The Maldives are built on reefs that slowly rise and fall with the sea. The islands that make up this nation rest on vast ring-shaped and oval reef platforms that form through a complex dance between coral growth and shifting sea levels. As water rose during past warming periods, corals grew upward to maintain access to sunlight. When water dropped during cooler eras, the exposed reef tops became beaches and landforms. Over long cycles, this combination produced strings of islands arranged in graceful curves that outline ancient reef rims. The living corals continue the work today, maintaining the foundations that support communities, lagoons, and sandy shores. Channels between the islands guide tidal water in and out, reshaping sediments and creating sheltered nurseries for marine life. The entire region demonstrates the way coral biology and ocean geology can weave together to build structures large enough to influence human settlement. The islands appear delicate, yet the reefs beneath them have endured many phases of rising and falling seas. Some coral colonies can clone themselves forever. A coral colony is made of many genetically identical polyps connected by living tissue. When conditions are right, The colony extends itself by budding new polyps along its edges, producing a growing network of identical individuals. This process can continue for an extremely long time, allowing a single genetic lineage to persist through split branches, regrowth after storms, and breaks that drift away to form new colonies. In this way, one organism can occupy a large area of reef while still functioning as a unified entity. Some lineages may be far older than the oldest visible parts of their skeletons, because the living surface continually replaces itself. When fragments break off, they often attach to new substrates and keep growing, spreading the lineage across the surrounding landscape. This mode of reproduction gives corals a remarkable ability to recover from damage and maintain their presence even when physical pieces of the colony are lost. Reef mucus is a protective shield that saves coral from sun and sediment. Many corals produce a thin layer of mucus that coats their surface and serves as a multi-purpose defense. The sticky material traps fine particles drifting in the currents, preventing sediment from blocking the pores where the coral's living tissue exchanges gases and nutrients. When enough particles accumulate, the coral moves the mucus outward and releases it into the water, shedding the load. This layer also acts as a filtration system that blocks harmful microbes and reduces the impact of bright sunlight on exposed tissues. During periods of stress, some corals increase mucus production to create a thicker barrier. The mucus contains compounds that help maintain the right chemical environment for the coral's symbiotic algae, which rely on stable conditions to function. Far from being a simple coating, it is a dynamic tool shaped by millions of years of survival in waters filled with shifting light, drifting sand, and countless microorganisms. The reefs of Fiji hold coral ridges as sharp and delicate as carved glass. Certain areas of Fiji's reefs display formations with thin ridges and intricate folds that reflect light in striking ways. These formations often form where strong currents pass over narrow ledges, encouraging corals to grow in shapes that increase their exposure to flowing water. The resulting structures can appear almost brittle, yet they withstand the daily motion of the sea with surprising durability. Many small organisms take shelter within the narrow folds, slipping between ridges where predators cannot reach. The shapes create microhabitats that vary in flow and light, allowing many species to coexist in close quarters. The clarity of the surrounding water often highlights the fine details of these coral sculptures, revealing patterns that resemble the precision of carved mineral. These formations grow slowly, shaped by both biological activity and the constant push and pull of water moving through the reef passages. A coral polyp is a tiny predator, armed with microscopic harpoons. Despite its soft appearance, each individual polyp contains specialized cells designed to capture prey with remarkable speed. When a drifting planktonic organism touches the polyp's tentacles, the cells release tiny threads tipped with stinging structures that pierce the target and deliver immobilizing compounds. The polyp then draws the captured prey toward a central opening where digestion begins. This feeding method allows even small corals to supplement the energy they receive from their internal algae partners, especially at night or in deeper water. Different polyp species vary in the shape and arrangement of these tiny weapons, with some adapted to grab passing particles and others designed to latch onto larger drifting creatures. The combined action of thousands of polyps within a colony creates a continual cycle of feeding and growth that supports the expansion of the reef's mineral framework. This hidden predatory nature explains how corals thrive even when light or nutrients fluctuate. Some reefs create their own nutrient cycles entirely from within. Large and healthy coral systems circulate resources through tightly connected communities of plants, animals, and microbes. Waste materials produced by fish and invertebrates become food for algae and bacteria. These smaller organisms then release compounds that nourish corals and other animals higher in the food chain. When predators feed, The resulting fragments and dissolved nutrients further enrich the local environment. Because this recycling occurs so rapidly and efficiently, many reefs maintain high productivity even in relatively nutrient-poor waters. The intricate architecture of coral branches, ledges, and caves helps trap drifting particles and retain them within the reef, rather than letting them wash away. Over time, this internal cycling supports dense populations of species that rely on the stability created by these interactions. The reef becomes a finely tuned system where energy is used again and again, turning each part of the community into a contributor to the whole. The Mesoamerican reef is home to giant brain corals that grow wider than beds. In some sheltered sections of this long reef system, enormous dome-shaped coral colonies rise through the water like living monuments. Their surfaces display winding grooves that resemble the folds of a human brain, yet each ridge is created by the slow outward expansion of tiny connected polyps. These large formations develop only when conditions remain stable for many decades, allowing layer after layer of mineral to accumulate without interruption. Fish often gather around the bases of these massive colonies, using the curved surfaces as shelter from currents. The coral's size also influences the surrounding environment by altering flow and creating pockets where sediments settle. Many small creatures live within the grooves, hiding among the winding ridges that offer both protection and consistent access to drifting food. The presence of such giants indicates a reef that has remained relatively undisturbed for long periods, making them important symbols of endurance in a changing sea. Reef soundscapes act as maps for traveling fish larvae. Young fishes, still tiny and drifting far from their future homes, rely on the underwater sound environment to find their way to suitable habitats. The crackling of snapping shrimp, the soft grunts of reef dwellers, and the rhythmic movements of grazing creatures combine into a unique acoustic signature that carries through the water. These sounds differ from one reef to another, shaped by the species present and the structure of the habitat. Larvae possess sensitive organs capable of detecting these faint cues even from a distance. When they approach a promising location, the increasingly complex soundtrack often guides them toward sheltered areas where they can settle and grow. The connection between sound and survival is especially important in regions where currents move young fishes across long distances. Instead of drifting aimlessly, they use these natural audio markers to locate the environments where their species has evolved to thrive. Some soft corals sway like forests of branching trees. Unlike their hard skeleton-forming relatives, many soft corals possess flexible internal structures but allow them to bend gracefully with every passing wave. Their branches can form dense thickets that resemble miniature groves rising from the seafloor. When water moves through these living forests, the motion causes each branch to sway in unison, creating a gentle rhythm that attracts plankton and tiny creatures from the surrounding water. The soft surfaces also provide shelter for small fish and invertebrates that prefer to hide among flexible structures rather than rigid coral heads. Some species change the shape of their branches depending on water flow, becoming more compact in strong currents and more open in calmer waters. Their ability to move without breaking allows them to survive in places where hard corals might struggle. These forests contribute to the diversity of the reef by offering habitats that differ dramatically from stone-like coral formations. The brightest colors on a reef often come from hidden algae within coral flesh. Although the surface of a coral appears to shimmer with its own pigments, much of the color that divers see actually comes from microscopic algae living inside the coral's tissues. These tiny organisms use sunlight to produce energy, and their pigments help capture different parts of the spectrum. In return for this protected home and consistent access to light, they supply the coral with nutrients produced during photosynthesis. When light intensity changes, the algae adjust their pigment levels, which can shift the appearance of the coral in subtle ways. If a colony receives too much direct sunlight, the coral may alter its tissue to control how much light reaches the algae. These interactions create the vivid greens, browns, yellows, and occasional blues seen across reefs. The relationship between algae and coral is finely balanced, and the health of the algae often determines the radiance and vitality of the coral itself. Reef fish use coral tunnels as storm shelters. The complex architecture of coral formations includes narrow passages, sheltered chambers, and twisting channels that offer protection during turbulent weather. When storms approach and waves begin to surge, many small fishes retreat deep into these natural fortresses. Inside the tight spaces, the force of the water is greatly reduced, allowing them to remain secure even as powerful currents pass overhead. Larger predators usually avoid these cramped tunnels, giving smaller species temporary refuge. Over years of growth, corals create an expanding labyrinth of shelter that becomes vital for the survival of delicate reef inhabitants. Young fishes especially depend on these hidden spaces during periods of rough sea conditions. The tunnels also serve as resting places at night or during times of energy conservation. Through these structures, the reef provides a physical buffer against the unpredictable challenges of the open ocean, allowing life to persist through storms that might otherwise sweep small creatures away. Some corals form plate structures the size of small cars. Certain coral species grow outward in wide, flat shapes that resemble enormous fans or plates resting on raised supports. These structures expand gradually as new polyps form along the edges and deposit mineral material beneath them. The broad surfaces capture sunlight efficiently, making them ideal for algae-rich tissues that depend on light for energy production. Their size influences the environment below by casting shadows and altering the flow of water through the reef. The undersides of the plates provide sheltered microhabitats where light-sensitive organisms settle. Small fishes hide along the edges, darting out to feed before retreating again. These formations also channel sediment away from delicate corals growing beneath them. Although they appear fragile, many plate corals can withstand considerable water movement, flexing slightly at their edges. Their sweeping shapes add dramatic variation to the reef landscape and demonstrate how form and function evolve together in the ocean. The Red Sea hosts corals that may hold clues for future reef survival. In this region of warm, salty water, certain coral species have developed an impressive tolerance for conditions that challenge many other reefs around the world. Their tissues contain cellular mechanisms that help them manage stress more effectively, and their algae partners are adapted to function even when temperatures rise significantly. These corals also experience frequent fluctuations in water chemistry due to their unique environment, which may strengthen their resilience. Researchers study their responses to heat and sunlight in detail, hoping to understand why some populations endure changes that cause difficulties elsewhere. The insights gained from these naturally hardy communities may guide future efforts to protect vulnerable reefs and identify which species have the greatest potential to withstand environmental shifts. By observing how these corals thrive in a demanding setting, scientists learn more about the limits and possibilities of reef survival in a warming world. Some reef creatures sculpt their own coral homes by gnawing tiny chambers. Various small animals, including certain fishes, crustaceans, and worms, carve miniature hollows into coral skeletons to create safe spaces where they can rest or hide. These creatures select their locations carefully, choosing specific spots that balance protection with access to food-rich currents. Over time, their repeated scraping enlarges the chambers into complex shapes that may include tunnels, pockets, and branching pathways. The inhabitants defend these homes from intruders and often return to the same chamber throughout their lives. The coral responds to this activity by growing around the edges of the burrow. sometimes sealing off parts of the structure and creating new patterns in the skeleton. Although the activity may seem harmful, these small sculptors also contribute to the wider ecosystem by creating tiny habitats that other species can later occupy. Their presence adds another layer of diversity to the intricate network of life within the reef. The coral of Raja Ampat displays more shapes than any other place on Earth. This region in the Western Pacific is renowned for its astonishing variety of coral forms. Colonies rise as branching trees, low rounded mounds, delicate lace-like sheets, and twisting structures unlike anything found elsewhere. The diversity arises from the area's strong currents, shifting light levels and varying depths, which encourage different growth strategies. Some corals expand outward rapidly to capture abundant light, while others focus on compact strength to withstand fast-moving water. The result is a mosaic of structures that support countless species of fishes and invertebrates. Researchers exploring these reefs often encounter unfamiliar shapes that challenge existing classifications, highlighting the region's importance for understanding coral evolution. The unusual forms also create distinct habitats in close proximity, allowing organisms with very specific needs to coexist side by side. Raja Ampat stands as a living gallery of coral architecture shaped by millions of years of environmental variation. Corals move food across their bodies with living conveyor belts. The surface of a coral colony is covered in tiny hair, like structures that beat rhythmically to direct particles toward the central mouth of each polyp. These motions resemble a coordinated wave that transports food along the coral's tissue. When drifting plankton or organic fragments land on the colony, the moving hairs shift them efficiently toward spots where they can be ingested. This mechanism allows corals to feed even when water currents slow, maintaining a steady intake of nutrients. The system also helps clean the surface by removing particles that might otherwise block sunlight or interfere with gas exchange. In some species, the direction of the waves changes depending on the coral's needs, guiding material toward different parts of the colony. This intricate coordination transforms the entire surface into an active, responsive feeding landscape. The efficiency of this conveyor system supports growth and energy balance, even in challenging conditions. Reef currents carry invisible clouds of plankton that feed entire ecosystems. Water moving across a reef may look clear, yet it carries a drifting mixture of microscopic organisms and organic fragments that form the foundation of countless food chains. These tiny particles arrive from distant places, transported by tides, winds, and deep ocean movements. When currents sweep over coral structures, the branching shapes slow the flow just enough for many planktonic organisms to linger in pockets of softer water. Small fish, filter feeders, and corals themselves take advantage of this natural delivery system, capturing food as it passes. The quantity and composition of plankton can shift dramatically from hour to hour, depending on tides and the feeding behavior of animals upstream. Even slight changes in current direction can redirect these drifting clouds into new areas, transforming the activity of the reef. This continuous supply of microscopic life supports larger species by fueling the creatures that feed them, making plankton an essential yet almost unseen driver of the reef's diversity. Some corals can regrow after being broken into tiny pieces. When storms, anchors, or natural disturbances fracture coral colonies, many species possess the remarkable ability to heal and continue expanding. Even small fragments with only a few living polyps can attach themselves to stable surfaces and begin forming new skeletons. These fragments often grow faster than larger colonies because they focus their energy on establishing new tissue rather than maintaining wide surfaces. The ability to regenerate from broken pieces allows reefs to recover from physical damage more effectively than many other ecosystems. It also means that a single colony can gradually populate a wide area by sending out drifting pieces that settle elsewhere. Restoration projects often use this natural resilience by collecting loose fragments that would otherwise die and securing them in sheltered locations. Over time, these pieces become independent colonies that contribute to the surrounding habitat. The adaptability shown by these resilient corals demonstrates how biological strategies support long-term survival in environments shaped by constant change. Reef fish release nutrients that fertilize coral growth. The presence of active fish populations does more than add movement and color to a reef. Their daily activities help maintain nutrient cycles that support coral health. As fish feed on algae, plankton, and small invertebrates, they produce waste that contains compounds essential for coral and algal metabolism. These nutrients do not linger in open water for long. Currents distribute them across the reef surface, where they can be absorbed by corals and other organisms. In areas with high fish abundance, nutrient enrichment helps maintain vibrant communities by supplying materials that would otherwise be scarce in clear tropical waters. Some herbivorous species graze algae that might compete with corals, while others release nutrients in sheltered spots where corals have excellent access to them. The relationship between fish and coral growth is a subtle but important factor in the stability of reef systems. Without active fish communities, many reefs would lose both energy flow and structural balance. Some reefs have layers older than human civilizations. Deep within the skeletons of large coral formations lie mineral deposits built by generations of polyps that lived long ago. These layers formed during periods when coastlines, temperatures, and sea levels were very different from today. Each layer reflects conditions that existed during its formation, and together they create a timeline that reaches back far beyond recorded history. As new corals grow on the outer surface, the internal layers remain sealed away, preserving physical evidence of ancient oceans. When researchers study these structures, they uncover information about long-vanished climate cycles, shifts in regional currents, and changes in water chemistry that influenced environments across entire regions. The size of these layered structures demonstrates the persistence of coral life even through major environmental transitions. The existence of such deep time archives shows how coral reefs record not only their own growth, but also the history of the seas that shaped them. Underwater caves near the Bahamas shelter rare stony corals. The limestone platforms surrounding the Bahamas contain complex cave systems that extend beneath shallow waters. Within these submerged passages, light levels drop and currents slow, creating conditions very different from the surrounding reefs. Some species of stony corals thrive in these dim spaces, growing in shapes that reflect their need to capture scarce nutrients and limited light. The stable temperatures and reduced light variation provide a refuge for corals that might struggle in brighter, more turbulent environments. The quiet chambers also harbor small fishes and invertebrates that avoid open water, forming communities that seldom interact with surface-dwelling species. These sheltered environments preserve coral fawns that show unusual growth patterns not often seen in shallow habitats. Exploring these caves reveals how corals adapt to narrow ecological niches. Their survival in such hidden locations highlights the ability of reef organisms to colonize environments that differ dramatically from the typical sunlit zones associated with coral ecosystems. Certain coral species build sleeping chambers for tiny crustaceans. Some corals form specialized structures that house small crustaceans which spend part of their daily cycle hidden within these protective spaces. The chambers often lie at the base of coral branches or along folds in the colony's surface. As daylight fades, the crustaceans venture out to feed on drifting particles or small algae films. When danger approaches, they retreat back into the shelter where predators cannot follow. These relationships benefit both parties. The residents help remove sediments and parasites from the coral's surface, while the coral provides a secure home that remains available year after year. The intricate architecture of the chambers suggests a long history of co-evolution, with both species shaping each other's behaviors. This arrangement adds another layer of interaction within reef systems, demonstrating how even tiny organisms can influence coral health and long-term survival through daily routines built around shelter, feeding, and mutual support. The coral triangle contains reefs that flourish even in turbulent waters. Strong currents, shifting tides, and frequent storms characterize many parts of this vast region, yet its reefs remain among the most vibrant on Earth. Corals here often grow in shapes that channel fast-moving water into manageable flows, preventing tissues from tearing or becoming stressed. Many species have adapted to intermittent cloudiness caused by stirring sediments, allowing them to continue feeding during reduced light conditions. The turbulence also carries a near-constant supply of plankton and nutrients that enrich the ecosystem. Fishes and invertebrates in this region have developed strategies to maintain position in swirling water, often using particular angles or microhabitats to conserve energy. The combination of physical challenge and biological endurance has produced communities of exceptional complexity. These reefs show that environmental extremes do not always limit diversity. In some cases, they create opportunities for specialized species that thrive in conditions other reefs cannot tolerate. Coral-algae partnerships are among the most efficient solar relationships known. The microscopic algae living inside coral tissues collect sunlight and convert it into energy with impressive efficiency. Their pigments capture a wide range of light wavelengths, allowing them to thrive even when passing waves create shifting illumination. The algae transfer much of their energy to the coral, which uses the nutrients to build skeletons, repair tissues, and support growth. In many coral species, this partnership supplies the majority of their metabolic needs. The coral, in turn, provides shelter, stable chemistry, and access to sunlight. The precision of this exchange allows reefs to flourish in waters that lack abundant nutrients. Over evolutionary time, coral species have developed fine-tuning mechanisms that regulate how much light reaches the algae. This ensures that the partnership remains stable even under intense sunshine. The combined efficiency of both partners enables reefs to support dense populations of animals in environments where independent organisms might struggle to find enough energy. Reef sharks use coral channels like underwater highways. The intricate topography created by coral growth forms natural corridors that guide the movements of sharks across reef landscapes. These channels concentrate currents that carry scents, allowing sharks to track potential prey more effectively. Some species patrol the same routes repeatedly, using familiar channels as shortcuts between feeding grounds, cleaning stations, and resting areas. The predictable structure of these pathways reduces the energy required for daily travel, especially in regions with strong currents. Younger sharks often learn these routes by following older individuals or exploring the reef until they memorize the most efficient paths. The presence of sharks on these routes influences the behavior of other reef inhabitants, encouraging schooling fish to stay near shelter and shaping the distribution of prey species. These underwater highways illustrate how large predators integrate coral architecture into their movement patterns and how the physical layout of the reef guides the daily rhythms of many species. Some corals feed at night by spreading sticky sheets across their surfaces. When daylight fades and plankton rises from deeper layers, certain corals extend thin mucus sheets that act as wide nets for capturing food. These sheets cover the colony's surface and trap drifting particles carried by gentle nighttime currents. As the sheet gathers material, the coral gradually contracts it inward, moving the captured food toward spots where it can be ingested. This strategy expands the feeding area far beyond what tentacles alone could reach. It also reduces the energy needed to capture prey, because the sheet passively collects whatever passes through the immediate environment. The timing of this nighty behavior aligns with natural cycles of plankton movement, allowing the coral to take advantage of food sources unavailable during the day. The combined use of both tentacles and mucus sheets demonstrates the flexibility of coral feeding strategies and their ability to adjust to changing conditions over periods of darkness and light. The reefs of Okinawa host corals that grow in wide, flat tables. In the clear waters surrounding these islands, certain coral species expand outward rather than upward, forming broad horizontal layers that resemble underwater platforms. Their shape allows them to capture as much sunlight as possible, spreading their living tissues across a wide surface to accommodate the algae that provide much of their energy. These formations develop in areas where currents remain strong but steady, delivering nutrients while preventing sand from settling on the flat surfaces. The edges of these table corals often shelter small fish that hover beneath the structure during the heat of the day. The open underside provides shade and reduced water flow, creating a safe space for delicate organisms that avoid turbulence. As these table-shaped colonies grow, they can overlap or stack, forming intricate layers that influence local light patterns and create a multi-level habitat. Their presence demonstrates how coral architecture evolves to match very specific environmental conditions. Some fish use coral branches to amplify their calls. Sound travels differently underwater, and many reef inhabitants take advantage of this to communicate in ways that remain unnoticed by divers. Certain small fishes position themselves near or inside branching corals when producing low, rhythmic sounds. The hollow spaces and rigid walls of the coral act like natural amplifiers, increasing the volume and directing the vibrations outward. This allows individuals to attract mates, warn rivals, or contact group members from greater distances than their bodies alone would allow. The shape and density of the coral determine how the sound resonates, so fishes often choose specific branches that best suit their needs. The surrounding structures also help mask the calls from predators that might eavesdrop. These behaviors reveal how animals use the reef itself as a tool, integrating the physical environment into their communication strategies. The relationship between sound and habitat shows another subtle way that reef creatures shape and use the world around them. Some corals can survive buried under sand for surprising lengths of time. When storms or strong currents push large amounts of sand across a reef, certain corals become temporarily buried. Although many species would suffer quickly under these conditions, some have adapted to withstand extended periods without light or normal water flow. Their tissues reduce metabolic activity, conserving energy while trapped beneath the shifting layer. As the sand gradually moves or settles unevenly, pockets of water allow small amounts of oxygen to reach the coral surface, preventing total suffocation. When the covering finally clears, the colony can resume growth, often showing only minor changes in color or shape. This resilience helps these species survive in dynamic environments where sediments shift frequently. Their ability to endure low-light conditions for extended periods also allows them to colonize sandy areas that other corals avoid. Through this unique survival strategy, these corals contribute to reef stability in habitats shaped by continuous movement of coastal sediments. Reef sediment is often made from the remains of tiny grazers. Much of the fine sand around coral ecosystems originates from small herbivorous organisms that feed on algae growing on reef surfaces. As they scrape the substrate, they grind tiny fragments of coral and other materials, which pass through their digestive systems and emerge as soft grains. Over time, this material accumulates and becomes the pale sand that lines lagoons and beaches near reefs. The color and texture of the sediment depend on the species responsible for producing it, with some animals generating powdery particles and others creating coarser grains. The constant production of this material helps maintain beaches in regions where strong waves might otherwise wash them away. These processes link the feeding habits of minute creatures to the formation of entire coastlines. The transformation of hard surfaces into soft sediment through natural grazing is an essential part of the reef cycle, demonstrating how small organisms play a major role in shaping the broader environment. Some corals adjust their symbiotic algae to cope with sunlight changes. The microscopic partners living inside coral tissues vary in their tolerance to different light intensities and wavelengths. When conditions shift, such as during seasonal changes or after disturbances that alter water clarity, corals can modify the proportion of different algal types within their tissues. This adjustment helps optimize energy production by matching algae to available light. In bright, shallow zones, algae that tolerate intense illumination thrive, while deeper areas favor partners that use limited light efficiently. Corals detect changes in light by sensing subtle differences in temperature and energy levels within their tissues. They then influence which algae proliferate by adjusting internal chemistry and regulating space within their cells. These internal shifts allow the coral to maintain stable energy supplies despite changes in their external environment. This capacity for fine-tuning demonstrates the remarkable flexibility of the coral-algae relationship and its importance for long-term survival. Coral gardens in the Philippines contain species still unknown to science. The archipelago spans thousands of islands, creating a complex mosaic of underwater environments. Many reefs here lie in remote or difficult-to-access regions, which means their inhabitants remain largely undocumented. Explorers visiting these sites often encounter corals with unusual branching patterns, unique color variations, or growth forms that differ from known species. Some colonies occupy narrow environmental niches, thriving only in specific current patterns or depths found in small pockets of the region. The presence of such diversity suggests that numerous species have evolved independently in these isolated habitats. Researchers continue to map these reefs, uncovering organisms whose identities challenge existing classifications. Many associated fishes, crustaceans, and mollusks also remain undescribed, revealing how little is known about these vibrant underwater landscapes. The coral gardens of the Philippines highlight the vast potential for discovery within reef systems and the importance of documenting species that may be vulnerable to environmental change. Reef fringe zones protect coastlines with astonishing efficiency. The outer edges of many coral systems form natural barriers that absorb the force of waves before they reach the shore. The structure of these zones includes rugged ridges, shallow flats, and elevated platforms that cause waves to break farther from land. As water flows across these surfaces, its energy disperses, reducing the impact on beaches and coastal vegetation. This protective effect shields low-lying regions from erosion during storms and helps maintain the stability of nearby communities. The physical design of the fringe zone evolves as corals grow, creating features that function like living breakwaters. Even small adjustments in the shape of these outer formations can influence how waves move across the reef. By providing this level of protection, the fringe zone becomes an essential part of coastal resilience. Its effectiveness underscores the importance of maintaining healthy reef ecosystems that continue to grow and strengthen their natural defenses. Some corals maintain internal currents to clear debris. The surfaces of coral colonies support many tiny moving structures that create subtle flows across their tissues. These motions help remove particles that settle from the surrounding water, such as sand grains, organic fragments, or microscopic organisms. By continually sweeping their surfaces clean, corals prevent blockages that could interfere with gas exchange or sunlight exposure. Different sections of a colony can generate currents in various directions, guiding debris toward edges where it can drift away. This internal flow system operates even when surrounding water remains calm, ensuring that corals maintain clear surfaces without depending solely on external currents. The coordinated movement of countless microscopic parts creates a self-cleaning mechanism that protects coral health. This ability becomes especially important in environments where sediments shift frequently or where plankton blooms deposit fine material onto reef structures. Corals use chemical scents to attract their symbiotic algae. When coral larvae settle on a suitable surface, they must quickly establish partnerships with algae that will provide essential energy. To accomplish this, they release specific chemical signals into the water that attract compatible algal species. The algae respond to these cues by moving toward the coral's tissues, where they take up residence within specialized cells. This early cooperation becomes the foundation for the coral's growth and long-term survival. The chemical recognition system is highly selective, allowing corals to establish relationships with algae that match their habitat and light environment. These signals also help maintain balance within adult colonies by encouraging healthy algae to remain while limiting the growth of less beneficial types. The precision of this chemical communication is a remarkable example of coordination between two very different organisms. It ensures that young corals gain the partners they need to build strong skeletons and expand across the reef. Some reef fish build nests by rearranging coral rubble. On sections of reef where small pieces of broken coral accumulate, certain fishes create protected areas for their eggs by moving rubble into carefully arranged circles or mounds. Using their mouths or fins, they select pieces of specific sizes and place them in patterns that shield developing eggs from predators and strong currents. These nests often appear in shallow zones where sunlight and water movement support rapid growth of young fish. The builders guard their nests vigorously, chasing away intruders that attempt to disturb the delicate structure. Over time, their activities can modify the surrounding habitat by clearing patches of substrate and concentrating rubble in ways that influence water flow. The behavior reveals an advanced level of environmental control within species that might otherwise appear to live simple lives. Their architectural efforts demonstrate how reef inhabitants shape their surroundings through purposeful engineering. The coral reefs of Hawaii include species adapted to volcanic waters. In these islands, volcanic activity has shaped the ocean environment in ways unlike most other reef regions. Warm groundwater seeps from the seafloor, minerals dissolve from fresh lava rock, and sediments from steep slopes wash into the coastal waters. Many corals here have adapted to these shifting conditions by tolerating fluctuations in temperature, salinity, and nutrient levels that would stress colonies elsewhere. Some species anchor themselves on young lava formations, taking advantage of the hard, newly cooled surfaces. Others thrive in areas influenced by freshwater plumes that appear after heavy rainfall. The mixture of volcanic minerals and clear Pacific water creates a dynamic setting where corals grow in narrow bands along sheltered coastlines. Reef fishes and invertebrates also adjust to this environment, forming communities shaped by the interaction between geology and biology. These Hawaiian reefs demonstrate how corals can flourish, even where land and sea continually reshape one another. Some corals change color when stressed. The pigments within coral tissues and their symbiotic algae respond to environmental changes with remarkable sensitivity. When water becomes unusually bright, warm, or filled with suspended material, corals may alter the concentration of certain pigments in an attempt to maintain balance. These shifts can produce unexpected color changes, creating pale patches, deepened hues, or bright highlights across the colony. In some cases, corals temporarily produce protective pigments that appear as striking fluorescent shades. These responses allow the coral to shield its internal cells from damage while stabilizing its partnership with algae. Although dramatic color shifts can signal stress, they also reveal the coral's capacity to adapt to challenging conditions. The ability to modify appearance so quickly demonstrates how finely tuned coral physiology is to its environment. By adjusting pigments, corals manage sunlight exposure, nutrient processing, and temperature control in real time, giving them a chance to survive episodes of hardship. Reef octopuses use coral holes as disguise chambers. These intelligent animals search for specific coral crevices that provide both concealment and access to food-rich areas. Once they locate a suitable chamber, they often improve it by rearranging small stones and pieces of rubble to narrow the entrance and create a better hiding spot. Inside the chamber, the octopus can change its skin texture and coloration to match the surrounding coral, blending so completely that passing creatures fail to detect it. From this safe position, the octopus observes its surroundings with watchful eyes, waiting for crustaceans or small fishes to wander close. If danger approaches, it retreats deeper into the space or uses a cloud of ink to escape. These selected hideaways become long-term residences, where the octopus stores discarded shells and food remains. Through this behavior, octopuses demonstrate strategic use of the reef's architecture to enhance both survival and hunting efficiency. Some reefs create their own microbial shields. Within the tiny spaces between coral branches and on the surfaces of reef structures live diverse microbial communities that help protect the ecosystem. These microbes include bacteria, archaea, and other microorganisms adapted to specific microhabitats. Many of them process compounds released by corals, algae, and fishes, transforming potential waste into usable nutrients. Others produce substances that inhibit harmful microbes or prevent disease-causing organisms from gaining a foothold. The balance of these microscopic populations shifts subtly depending on light, temperature, and water flow, creating a dynamic shield that helps maintain overall health. When the microbial community remains stable, the reef benefits from improved nutrient recycling and enhanced resistance to infection. This protective layer forms through countless daily interactions among organisms invisible to the human eye. The presence of such self-regulating microbial networks shows how reefs rely on both large structural builders and tiny unseen partners to defend themselves against changing conditions. Coral reefs influence local weather patterns. Large reef systems affect the movement of air above them by altering water temperature and releasing moisture into the atmosphere. Sunlight warms shallow reef flats more quickly than deeper surrounding waters, creating pockets of rising air that influence nearby wind patterns. These changes can affect cloud formation, rainfall distribution, and the timing of afternoon breezes along coastal areas. Evaporation above reefs also enriches the local air with moisture that contributes to short-lived showers or gentle mists. The physical presence of the reef further shapes currents and turbulence at the water's surface, which in turn affects how heat transfers from ocean to sky. In regions with extensive reef networks, these effects combine to create subtle yet consistent shifts in local weather. Although reefs do not control climate on a large scale, their influence helps shape the daily patterns that coastal communities experience, demonstrating another way these ecosystems contribute to the Bala environment beyond their borders. Some corals build towers that rise like cathedrals. Certain slow-growing species form tall, slender columns that stretch upward from the seafloor. These structures develop when conditions favor vertical expansion, such as in deeper zones where light is limited, or in areas where competition for horizontal space is intense. The towers grow year after year as polyps deposit new mineral layers beneath their living tissues. Their height modifies the surrounding habitat by creating shaded pockets and narrow corridors between formations. Small fishes weave through these pillars, using them as pathways and protective barriers. The tallest of these structures can serve as landmarks for wide-ranging creatures that navigate by familiar shapes. Despite their monumental appearance, the towers result from countless tiny biological actions rather than abrupt geological events. Their presence reveals how patient and persistent coral growth can produce breathtaking underwater architecture shaped by the steady interaction of light, current, and living tissue. Reef sponges filter thousands of liters of water in a single day. These simple-looking organisms draw water through their porous bodies using coordinated movements of internal cells. As water travels through their channels, sponges extract tiny particles, organic fragments, and microorganisms that serve as food. This filtration process cleans the surrounding water, removing materials that might otherwise accumulate in sheltered reef areas. The filtered water emerges clearer and chemically altered, providing benefits to nearby corals and other delicate organisms. Sponges also play a role in nutrient cycling by transforming dissolved compounds into forms that can be used by different species. Their constant pumping helps maintain steady water movement, even when external currents weaken. The scale of their daily filtration is extraordinary when multiplied across large reef systems, making sponges important contributors to water quality. Their quiet yet powerful activity forms a critical part of the hidden machinery that keeps reef environments functional and diverse. The reefs of the Seychelles show how ecosystems can recover after disaster. These islands experienced significant environmental disturbances in the past, including periods of warming that caused widespread coral loss. In the years that followed, some reefs demonstrated remarkable resilience. Surviving corals expanded, new colonies settled, and fish populations gradually returned to their former abundance. The recovery did not occur uniformly across all sites. Areas with strong water flow, diverse fish communities, and minimal human pressure rebounded more rapidly. Over time, branching corals reclaimed shallow flats, while massive species strengthened deeper sections. The return of grazing fishes helped control competing algae, allowing coral growth to accelerate. These examples of renewal have become important models for understanding how natural processes support reef resilience. They show that while environmental stress can greatly reduce coral cover, appropriate conditions and stable ecological relationships can guide long-term recovery. The Seychelles provide real-world evidence that damaged reefs can rebuild when given time and a suitable environment. Some corals work with bacteria that produce natural medicines. Within coral tissues live bacterial partners that create chemical compounds with protective properties. These substances can inhibit harmful microbes, reduce inflammation in coral wounds, or discourage parasites from settling on the colony. The bacteria benefit from a safe habitat and steady access to nutrients released by the coral. Researchers exploring these relationships have found unique chemical structures that may inspire future medical treatments for humans. The variety of bacteria living within different coral species suggests that reefs contain a vast reservoir of biological potential. These microscopic partners adjust their activity depending on the coral's condition, increasing or decreasing certain compounds as needed. Their contributions form an invisible layer of defense that complements the coral's own protective strategies. The cooperation between corals and their bacterial allies demonstrates how complex partnerships enhance survival in a challenging environment. Coral polyps can detect the faintest change in water chemistry. The surface cells of each polyp contain receptors sensitive to variations in dissolved substances. These receptors help the coral distinguish between clean water, nutrient-rich currents, and potentially harmful chemical shifts. Even small changes in acidity, temperature, or organic content can trigger adjustments in feeding behavior, mucus production, or tissue thickness. This sensitivity allows corals to respond quickly to environmental fluctuations that might affect their algae partners or the stability of their skeletons. When unusual conditions persist, the polyp's reactions influence the entire colony, guiding growth or contraction in specific areas. This continuous monitoring of the water around them ensures that corals remain aware of both beneficial and stressful changes. Their ability to detect and respond to such minute differences highlights the precision of coral physiology. Through this sensitivity, colonies maintain balance in environments that shift subtly from hour to hour. The coral of Lord Howe Island lives near the edge of what is possible. Far to the south of the warm tropical belt, the waters around this island grow cooler than most coral species can tolerate. Yet certain hardy corals have managed to survive here by adapting to lower temperatures, weaker sunlight, and seasonal fluctuations that would stress colonies in typical reef environments. These corals grow slowly but steadily, forming structures that appear both sturdy and compact. Their tissues contain pigments suited for capturing limited light, and their algae partners function efficiently at temperatures that challenge usual symbiosis. The reef's location also exposes it to strong ocean swells generated by distant storms, shaping colonies that cling firmly to rocky substrates. Despite these challenges, the ecosystem supports fishes, invertebrates, and algae that thrive in this unusual environment. The presence of such corals demonstrates that reef-building organisms possess a wider range of thermal and ecological tolerance than once believed, expanding our understanding of where coral systems can persist. Some reefs grow in temperatures close to the limits for all marine life. In certain isolated lagoons and enclosed bays, water temperatures regularly climb to levels that challenge even the hardiest ocean creatures. Yet some coral species not only survive these extreme conditions, but continue to grow and reproduce. Their cells contain specialized proteins that help maintain stability during heat stress, and their symbiotic algae have adapted to high-temperature environments by adjusting pigment concentrations and energy pathways. These corals also modify their internal chemistry to reduce damage caused by heat-driven imbalances. The surrounding community reflects this tolerance. Fishes, crustaceans, and other organisms living in these hot zones exhibit behaviors and physiological traits seldom observed elsewhere. These extreme reefs provide a natural laboratory for understanding how marine communities might respond to a warming world. Their existence shows that while many corals prefer stable tropical temperatures, pockets of remarkable resilience occur in unexpected places, shaped by local history and unique evolutionary pressures. Reef anemones form partnerships with fish in remarkably specific ways. These soft-bodied animals rely on precise relationships with certain fish species that have evolved to live among their stinging tentacles without harm. The fish gain protection from predators since few creatures dare approach the anemone's potent defenses. In return, the fish chase away intruders, remove debris, and increase water movement through the anemone's tentacles with their constant activity. Each partnership forms through a careful sequence of behaviors. The fish approaches slowly, touching the tentacles with different parts of its body to build tolerance to the stings. Once accepted, it becomes a long-term resident. The anemone benefits from improved oxygen flow and reduced sediment accumulation. These cooperations vary by region, with some anemones partnering with only one fish species, while others support multiple residents. The specificity of each pairing reveals how closely matched the needs and behaviors of reef organisms can become over generations of shared evolution. Some corals build branches designed to break in storms, saving the colony. In regions where powerful waves strike the reef several times each year, certain branching corals grow delicate extensions that fracture before the core of the colony is damaged. When a storm arrives, the outer branches snap away and reduce the force carried to the base of the colony. The broken fragments drift with the currents and may eventually settle on stable surfaces, creating new colonies that continue the lineage. This strategy allows the coral to survive repeated wave impact while also expanding its presence across the seafloor. The inner structure of the colony remains dense and sturdy, protected by the sacrificial branches. After the danger passes, regrowth begins, and the colony restores its shape over time. This blend of vulnerability and resilience demonstrates how corals evolve highly tuned responses to their environment. Their ability to sacrifice outer sections to protect vital parts illustrates a remarkable adaptation to dynamic coastal conditions. Reef predators use coral shadows to hunt without being seen. As light filters through the branching and layered structures of the reef, it creates a mosaic of dark patches and moving patterns. Skilled predators such as groupers, hawkfish, and certain eels use these shadows to conceal their approach. By remaining motionless within a patch of darkness, a predator becomes nearly indistinguishable from the surrounding coral. When prey fish wander near, distracted by feeding or sheltering, the hidden hunter strikes suddenly. Some predators position themselves at angles that match the direction of the light, keeping bodies aligned with shadow lines. Others use the shifting light during sunrise or sunset to approach prey from directions where contrast is lowest. These techniques require precise timing and an intimate understanding of the reef's visual environment. The interplay of light, structure, and behavior illustrates how predators exploit natural features of the habitat to improve their hunting success. Some corals form labyrinths that stretch longer than football fields. In certain expansive reef systems, colonies grow together to form winding corridors that extend far across the seafloor. These labyrinths consist of narrow pathways bordered by raised coral ridges, creating sheltered routes used by fishes and invertebrates. The length and complexity of these formations result from many years of steady growth, with colonies expanding outward and connecting to their neighbors. Water flowing through the corridors slows enough to allow plankton and organic particles to settle, enriching the habitat for filter feeders. Predators patrol the main channels, while smaller creatures occupy branching side passages. The maze-like arrangement also helps protect young animals, offering countless hiding places beyond the reach of larger threats. These sprawling structures reveal how coordinated growth across multiple colonies can produce large-scale habitat patterns. Their presence transforms flat seafloors into intricate networks that support diverse communities across wide areas. Reef shrimp clean larger fish at coral stations. Within many reef communities, small shrimp gather at specific locations where larger fishes seek cleaning services. The shrimp signal their availability by waving their antennae or performing distinctive movements. When a fish approaches, it holds still and opens its mouth and gill covers, allowing the shrimp to remove parasites, mucus buildup, and dead tissue. This arrangement benefits both parties. The shrimp gain a reliable food source, and the fish remain healthier and more comfortable. Cleaning stations become important social hubs where many species interact peacefully despite their usual roles as predator and prey. These services extend to surprising parts of the fish's body, with shrimp even venturing inside gill chambers to complete their work. The precision and trust required for these exchanges highlight the complexity of behavior within reef systems. This cooperation contributes to overall reef health by reducing disease and maintaining balance among the many species that rely on close contact. Some reefs glow green under moonlight. When night falls and the moon rises over calm water, certain reefs emit a faint green shimmer. This glow comes from fluorescent proteins within coral tissues that absorb soft moonlight and re-release it in different wavelengths. The effect is subtle, but visible to creatures with sensitive eyes. The glow may help attract planktonic organisms that drift towards specific colors. It may also allow nocturnal animals to navigate the reef more safely by highlighting edges and structures that would otherwise disappear in darkness. The intensity of the glow depends on the species present and the clarity of the water. These luminous nights reveal a hidden dimension of reef beauty that most divers never witness. The shimmering surfaces and glowing ridges create an environment that feels alive in a new way, demonstrating that coral ecosystems remain active long after daylight fades. Coral microbiomes rival the complexity of forest soil. Within the thin layer covering coral surfaces live diverse communities of microorganisms that perform functions essential to coral health. These microbes vary across different coral species and even different parts of the same colony. They break down organic material, regulate chemical balance, and help defend the coral from harmful microbes by occupying valuable space and resources. The number of microbial species present can reach levels comparable to those found in rich soils, creating a dense network of interactions. Environmental conditions such as light, temperature, and water chemistry influence which microbes thrive at any given time. This constant reshaping ensures that the coral receives support tailored to its current needs. The complexity of these communities highlights how much of coral health depends on organisms too small to see. Their presence forms an invisible layer of protection and balance that helps coral colonies survive in ever-changing conditions. Some reefs grow over ancient volcanic craters. In certain regions, long-extinct volcanoes lie beneath shallow coastal waters. Over time, their craters fill with coral growth, transforming stark geological depressions into colorful reef environments. The sloping sides of the crater provide different light levels and water flows, creating distinct zones where various coral species settle. At the center, sheltered conditions allow delicate organisms to flourish, while the outer rim experiences stronger currents that favor sturdy, fast-growing corals. The shape of the crater also alters water circulation, pulling nutrients toward the interior and supporting high productivity. These reefs preserve the outline of the volcanic structure even as biology replaces bare rock with living architecture. The combination of geological history and coral development forms a unique environment where the past and present of the planet meet. The transformation of a crater into a thriving reef illustrates the ability of life to reclaim and remake the remnants of long-vanished events. The splendid dwarf seahorse lives only in certain coral lagoons. This tiny fish occupies a range so small that entire populations can fit within a single sheltered lagoon. The calm waters of these lagoons provide the perfect balance of gentle currents, dense seagrass patches, and coral rubble that the species relies on for hiding and feeding. Their small bodies and slow swimming style make them vulnerable in open water, so every part of their daily routine depends on the quiet protection offered by the lagoon structure. They cling to grasses and coral fragments with their tails, blending effortlessly with subtle patterns that mimic their surroundings. The isolation of these habitats allows them to avoid competition from larger species, yet it also means their survival depends heavily on the stability of a very specific environment. Their presence highlights how reefs support creatures that cannot thrive anywhere else, revealing the delicate balance between habitat, behavior, and survival in the smallest corners of the marine world. Some corals can detect approaching storms. Well before waves intensify or winds shift, certain coral species begin to alter their behavior in subtle ways that suggest they sense the early signs of changing atmospheric pressure. These changes may trigger adjustments in mucus production, tentacle extension, or feeding rate as the coral prepares for rougher conditions. When a storm approaches, particles suspended in the water often increase, and corals respond by withdrawing delicate structures that could be damaged by sediment. They may also strengthen the bond between tissue and skeleton to reduce the risk of tearing. These early reactions give the coral a valuable advantage, allowing it to brace itself before strong currents arrive. Scientists continue to explore the exact sensory mechanisms involved, but the evidence indicates that corals monitor environmental cues with remarkable sensitivity. Their ability to anticipate change shows how finely tuned these organisms are to the rhythms of the ocean surrounding them. Reef channels can funnel plankton like natural spirals. The complex shape of many reefs includes narrow passageways that guide water through tight curves and bends. As currents flow into these channels, they accelerate and begin to swirl, creating circular patterns that concentrate plankton in specific areas. Small fishes gather near these spirals to feed on the dense clusters of drifting organisms. Filter feeders anchor themselves along the edges where the flow brings a steady supply of microscopic life. These spiraling currents can shift position throughout the day, depending on tides and wind direction, forming a dynamic feeding landscape. The effect is created not by deliberate design, but by the natural contours formed through years of coral growth and erosion. These channels demonstrate how reef structures influence the movement of entire ecosystems, shaping both the distribution of food and the behavior of the creatures that rely on it. Some corals build lattices resembling snowflakes. The growth patterns of certain corals create delicate branching structures that spread outward in symmetrical forms reminiscent of frozen crystals. These lattices develop when polyps divide in multiple directions at steady intervals, producing a repeating pattern of small branches that extend across the reef surface. The open design allows water to move freely through the colony, bringing nutrients while preventing sediment buildup. The fine structure attracts small organisms that weave through the spaces, using the coral as both shelter and feeding ground. These symmetrical patterns vary from species to species, with some forming wide interconnected networks and others producing compact snowflake-like clusters. The beauty of these formations arises from biological rules that guide each polyp's growth, resulting in precise structures that seem almost geometric. Their presence adds intricacy to the reef landscape, creating microhabitats shaped by both form and function. Reef algae produce natural sunscreens. The algae that live on and around coral reefs create chemical compounds that help protect their cells from intense sunlight. These compounds absorb harmful wavelengths and prevent damage caused by ultraviolet exposure. When present on reef surfaces, the protective molecules also reduce stress on nearby organisms by limiting the energy of incoming light. Some coral species use these compounds indirectly, benefiting from the stable light conditions produced by algae in their environment. The ability of algae to produce natural sun protection allows them to thrive in shallow waters where sunlight is strongest. This protective chemistry also supports symbiotic relationships between algae and corals by maintaining conditions that allow both partners to function. These compounds have attracted scientific interest because of their potential uses in sustainable sunscreen development. Their existence reveals how reef organisms adapt to bright tropical environments through finely tuned biochemical strategies. Some coral colonies form rings that surround entire lagoons. In certain remote island systems, coral growth encircles wide, shallow bodies of water, creating ring-shaped structures known as atolls. These circular formations develop as volcanic islands sink slowly over time, while corals continue growing upward towards sunlight. The resulting ring defines the boundary between deep ocean and quiet lagoon. Within the lagoon, water remains calmer, allowing delicate species to flourish in protected conditions. Channels cut through the ring in a few places, permitting tidal exchange that transports nutrients and young animals into the interior. The outer edge of the ring faces strong waves, where sturdy corals grow in thick bands to resist constant impact. Each part of the structure supports a turned community, turning the lagoon into a mosaic of habitats shaped by light, depth, and water flow. These rings show how coral growth and geological processes combine to build entire marine landscapes. Reef spawning events turn entire seas into cloudy skies of life. On certain nights, usually guided by a mix of moonlight, temperature, and seasonal cues, huge numbers of corals release eggs and sperm into the water at once. The synchronized release fills the surrounding sea with drifting clouds that resemble a gentle underwater snowfall. Each tiny bundle carries the potential to become a new coral colony if it encounters the right conditions. The dense concentration of reproductive material attracts fishes and invertebrates that feed on the drifting eggs, creating a burst of activity across the reef. The widespread nature of these events ensures that fertilization occurs even when individual colonies are separated by long distances. The phenomenon highlights the quiet coordination that exists across reef communities, where thousands of organisms respond to shared signals that remain invisible to human observers. These events form one of the most spectacular natural cycles in the ocean. Some coral communities form walls taller than people. Over many years, tightly packed colonies of certain species fuse together into long vertical ridges. These walls rise from the seafloor like underwater cliffs, forming boundaries that influence currents and divide habitats. The vertical faces offer surfaces where sponges, algae, and small invertebrates can anchor themselves, creating layered habitats that change with depth. The top edges receive bright sunlight and host fast-growing organisms, while the lower sections remain shaded and cooler, supporting species that avoid direct light. Fishes navigate these walls as if they were physical landmarks, following the ridges during daily movements. The formation of such structures requires steady conditions that allow growth without interruption. Their presence reveals how corals can reshape their surroundings by building large-scale architecture from millions of individual actions. Reef creatures use ultraviolet patterns to communicate. Many reef animals possess pigments and reflective structures that reveal intricate patterns when viewed under ultraviolet light. These patterns remain invisible to humans, but appear vivid to creatures with ultraviolet sensitive eyes. The markings may signal mating readiness, territorial boundaries, or warnings to potential predators. Some species display bold ultraviolet patches during social interactions, and then shift to more subtle patterns when hiding. These signals reduce confusion among similar-looking species by providing information beyond visible color. The reef environment supports this communication system because water filters sunlight in ways that allow ultraviolet wavelengths to persist in shallow areas. The complexity of these hidden signals demonstrates how species have evolved communication methods suited to the unique optical characteristics of coral habitats. Some reefs shelter fish that can walk briefly on their fins. Certain small fishes living among coral rubble and tide pools possess strengthened pectoral fins that act almost like limbs. These fins allow them to push themselves across rocky surfaces when water retreats, or when they attempt to escape predators. The movement is not true walking, but a coordinated series of pushes and lifts that enable the fish to travel short distances outside their normal swimming zone. This ability helps them navigate complex environments where water depth changes rapidly. The fish use these movements to reach new hiding places or reposition themselves when currents shift. Their behavior reveals how adaptations arise in response to the challenges of living at the boundary between land and sea. These unusual movements show that even within the diverse world of reef fishes, some species develop surprising strategies to survive in difficult and unpredictable conditions. The reefs of the Chagos archipelago are among the least disturbed on Earth. Far from major cities and commercial fishing zones, these reefs lie in waters that have remained relatively untouched for generations. The isolation creates an environment where coral colonies grow without many of the pressures common in more populated regions. Large fish populations still roam freely across the seafloor, and the natural balance among predators, grazers, and sheltering species remains intact. This stability allows corals to reach impressive sizes and develop natural structures shaped by centuries of uninterrupted growth. The clarity of the water reveals entire landscapes of branching, plate, and massive formations living side by side. Researchers visiting these reefs often observe behaviors and interactions that are rare elsewhere, simply because the ecosystem functions with minimal human influence. The Chagos region serves as an important example of how reefs thrive when allowed to maintain their full community structure. These reefs offer a window into what coral environments may have looked like before widespread global impacts altered so many marine systems. Some coral algae glow red in deep water where light fades. At depths where sunlight weakens into a muted blue, certain symbiotic algae produce pigments that absorb the limited light and release it as a faint red glow. This glow cannot illuminate the reef, but it enhances the algae's ability to capture energy in conditions where photosynthesis would otherwise struggle. The pigments allow the algae to function in environments that receive only a small fraction of the sunlight found near the surface. The coral benefits from this adaptation because it continues receiving nutrients from its algae partner even at greater depths. The red light also reflects off surrounding tissues in subtle ways that may help other deep-dwelling organisms detect shapes or movement. These glowing pigments demonstrate how life responds to narrow opportunities, turning the fading spectrum of deep water into a workable source of energy. The shifting color highlights the remarkable flexibility of algae as they adjust to light levels that change with depth and season. Reef crabs guard coral colonies in exchange for food. Some small crab species form long-term partnerships with certain corals by defending them from predators and intrusive organisms. The crabs hide among the coral branches during the day and patrol the colony at night, removing unwanted algae, small worms, or starfish that try to feed on the coral. In return, the coral provides shelter and tiny bits of nutrient-rich mucus that the crabs consume. Their defensive behaviors include claw waving, rapid charges, and coordinated movements when multiple crabs occupy the same colony. By protecting the coral from harm, the crabs help maintain healthy tissues that continue to grow and branch. This partnership benefits both participants and influences the shape and success of the surrounding reef. The crabs' dedication to their home colony reveals how important mutual relationships are within coral systems, where survival often depends on cooperation between species that appear very different on the atoll. Surface. Some corals thrive in waters with almost no nutrients. In many tropical regions, clear ocean water contains surprisingly few dissolved nutrients, yet certain coral species flourish under these conditions. Their success comes from highly efficient partnerships with algae that convert sunlight into energy even when nutrients are scarce. The corals also capture small plankton and organic particles drifting through the water, supplementing what they receive from their algae. Their tissues recycle internal resources with precision, wasting very little. These adaptations allow them to grow in environments that would challenge many marine organisms. Paradoxically, low nutrient conditions can reduce competition from fast-growing algae and other organisms that might otherwise smother coral surfaces. As a result, these nutrient-poor reefs often host vibrant communities supported by delicate balances between light, water movement, and biological recycling. The ability of corals to thrive in such environments highlights their remarkable efficiency and the complex interactions that sustain life in clear tropical seas. Reef microbes turn waste into useful nutrients. Within every coral habitat lives an enormous community of microorganisms that process organic waste into forms that other organisms can use. These microbes break down particles released by fishes, invertebrates, and corals themselves. During this process, they convert waste into compounds that algae, sponges, and other reef dwellers rely on for growth. The presence of these microbial recyclers ensures that nutrients remain within the reef system rather than drifting away into deeper waters. Their activity keeps the ecosystem productive even when external nutrient sources remain low. Different microbial groups occupy specific niches across the reef surface, each specializing in its own part of the recycling process. Together, they form a complex network that stabilizes the ecosystem and supports countless interactions among larger species. The hidden work of these microbes is essential to the reef's ability to function like a self-sustaining community. Some corals use mucus to capture carbon particles. A thin coating of mucus covers the living surface of many corals, and this substance plays a role in removing fine carbon-rich particles from the water. As currents pass across the colony, the mucus traps these particles and holds them in place. The coral then transports the mucus layer inward, absorbing nutrients from the captured material before releasing the rest back into the water. This process allows corals to obtain additional food in environments where plankton levels fluctuate. It also helps clear the water around the colony, reducing competition with organisms that might otherwise use the same particles. The ability to capture carbon-rich fragments supports coral metabolism during periods of low plankton availability. The mucus itself contains compounds that stabilize its texture and allow it to function even in areas with strong currents. This combination of filtering and feeding reveals another dimension of coral adaptability in nutrient-limited environments. Reef plateaus can stretch for miles beneath the sea. In some regions, coral growth forms broad expanses that cover gently sloping sea floors. These plateaus host diverse communities of branching, massive, and encrusting corals that grow side by side across wide open areas. The surface of a plateau features channels carved by currents, small rises created by accumulated growth, and pockets where sediment settles. These features create a patchwork of habitats that support fishes, sponges, mollusks, and countless small organisms. When viewed from above, the plateau appears as a single continuous structure, yet it contains microhabitats shaped by subtle changes in depth and water movement. The size of these formations arises from long periods of stable conditions that allow corals to expand outward without major disturbance. The scale of these plateaus demonstrates how coral growth can reshape entire sections of the ocean floor, creating ecosystems that extend far beyond the boundaries of individual colonies. Some reef fish live entire lives inside a single coral head. Certain small fish species choose one coral colony as their lifelong home, rarely venturing more than a few body lengths away. They navigate the narrow passages between branches, finding food, shelter, and breeding sites within the same structure year after year. Their familiarity with the coral allows them to hide quickly from predators and locate safe resting spots as the light shifts throughout the day. The coral benefits because these resident fishes often remove parasites or feed on small organisms that might otherwise irritate the colony. Their dependence on a single coral head means they rely completely on its stability and growth. Any major change to the colony can alter the fish's entire world. This close relationship illustrates how tightly bound reef species can be to very specific microhabitats. Coral larvae can drift across oceans on long currents. When young corals first develop, they float freely in the water as small, delicate larvae. These tiny forms rely on ocean currents to carry them great distances, sometimes traveling far from the reef where they were released. During this drifting stage, the larvae must survive changing temperatures, varying food supplies, and encounters with predators. Their ability to remain suspended for extended periods gives them a chance to reach new habitats where they can settle and begin forming colonies of their own. Once they encounter suitable surfaces such as rock or old coral skeletons, they attach and transform into the first stage of a growing polyp. This long-distance dispersal allows coral species to spread between islands and across large ocean basins, connecting distant reef systems through the movement of the smallest individuals. The journey of each larva shapes the future structure and distribution of reefs. Some reefs form where rivers meet the sea. At river mouths, Freshwater mixes with ocean water to create unique environments where sediments, nutrients, and shifting currents combine in unpredictable ways. Although many coral species avoid these conditions, some have adapted to thrive in the variable salinity and occasional cloudiness found near river outflows. These reefs often develop on raised areas where clear patches of water allow enough sunlight to reach the corals. The presence of nutrients delivered by the river supports surrounding communities of fishes, sponges, and algae that would not survive in nutrient-poor areas. The corals in these zones must withstand changes in water flow that alter temperature and turbidity throughout the year. Their ability to persist in such dynamic settings reveals the flexibility and resilience of coral ecosystems. These river-influenced reefs form important transition zones between land and sea, bridging two very different environments. The reefs of Madagascar hold rare and ancient coral lineages. Along the island's varied coastline, certain coral species trace their roots back to lineages that diverged long before many modern reefs formed. These corals inhabit environments shaped by Madagascar's unusual blend of currents, sediments, and water chemistry. Some grow in sheltered bays influenced by river outflow, while others cling to rocky headlands exposed to strong ocean swells. Their long evolutionary history has produced forms and growth strategies not found elsewhere, including slow building structures that persist even during environmental fluctuations. These ancient lineages support distinctive communities of fishes and invertebrates that evolved alongside them. The isolation of the region allows these unique corals to continue patterns of development that began millions of years ago. Studying them reveals how early reef systems functioned and how corals adapt to life on shifting continental margins. Their continued existence adds depth to our understanding of global reef diversity. Some corals regulate their internal temperature. Within their tissues, certain species maintain a delicate balance between heat produced by cellular activity and heat absorbed from sunlight. When water warms, they adjust biochemical processes to slow internal temperature rise. They may increase the movement of fluids between tissue layers or shift the concentration of pigments that influence how much light they absorb. These changes help prevent damage to sensitive structures within their cells. When temperatures cool, they reverse these adjustments to maintain stable conditions for themselves and their algae partners. This internal regulation allows them to inhabit areas where temperatures fluctuate widely throughout the day. The ability to manage heat at such a fine scale demonstrates how corals use physiology to survive beyond the narrow temperature ranges once believed possible. The responses occur quickly and require energy, yet they provide an advantage in dynamic environments shaped by tides, currents, and weather. Reef creatures use coral crevices as safe havens for newborns. Many species time their reproductive cycles so that young hatch during periods when safe hiding places are plentiful within the reef. The smallest cracks between coral branches become nurseries where fragile juveniles shelter from predators. These spaces offer reduced water flow, gentler light, and a constant supply of microscopic food drifting past. Shrimp larvae, tiny fish fry, and other newborn invertebrates often gather in these crevices until they grow strong enough to venture into open water. The structure of the coral determines how many of these nursery sites exist, which influences the survival rates of entire species. Some adult animals even defend specific crevices, ensuring that their offspring or group members remain protected. These early life shelters form an essential part of reef stability, linking the architecture of the coral with the survival strategies of the creatures that depend on it during their most vulnerable moments. Some fast-growing corals can recover from storm damage within months. In regions exposed to frequent storms, certain corals have evolved rapid growth strategies that allow them to rebuild damaged areas quickly. After strong waves break parts of the colony, The remaining tissue spreads across the exposed skeleton and begins forming new structures at remarkable speed. This regrowth often follows patterns that differ from the original shape, creating unusual branching or plate-like forms. The coral channels energy into recovery processes, increasing tissue production and accelerating skeletal deposition. Small fragments broken by the storm may also settle nearby, creating additional colonies that expand the local population. This resilience helps these corals maintain dominance in dynamic environments where slower-growing species struggle to recover. Their ability to rebound quickly ensures that key habitats remain available to fishes and invertebrates that rely on these structures for shelter and feeding. These rapid responses demonstrate the role of growth rate in shaping reef survival. Reef bioluminescence creates night scenes like underwater stars. Once darkness settles and the water grows still, certain reef organisms release tiny flashes of light from their bodies. These pulses appear when chemical reactions within the organism's cells produce faint glows triggered by movement or contact. Small crustaceans, worms, and even some fish contribute to this nighttime display. When a predator approaches, a startled creature may emit a quick burst of light that distracts or confuses its pursuer. Large schools of plankton create shimmering patches as they drift through quietly moving currents. The scattered flashes across the reef resemble a gentle sky turned upside down, with thousands of points of light flickering across coral shelves and sandy patches. The patterns shift with the tide, revealing the movement of organisms too small to see in daylight. This nightly spectacle highlights a hidden world that depends on interactions between biology and chemistry to create one of the ocean's most delicate forms of illumination. Certain coral zones support creatures with glass-like bodies. In deeper sections of some reefs, where sunlight dims and water remains cooler, species with nearly transparent bodies find refuge. These creatures use their glass-like appearance to avoid detection, letting light pass through them rather than reflecting it. Small cone gellies, delicate shrimps, and ethereal larval fishes drift among the coral shadows, blending seamlessly with their surroundings. The calm water and consistent temperatures in these zones reduce the need for heavy armor or strong pigmentation, allowing transparency to persist. These organisms move with subtle motions that minimize disturbance, helping them remain invisible to predators. Their bodies reveal internal structures only when illuminated by stray photons or diver lights. The presence of these transparent creatures demonstrates how reefs provide microhabitats, suited not only for brightly colored species, but also for organisms that rely on near invisibility to survive. Some corals form sculptures that resemble branches of frost. In certain calm lagoons, corals grow into fine, crystalline forms that resemble winter ice patterns more than tropical architecture. Their thin branches extend outward in repeating shapes that appear fragile, yet the mineral structure remains surprisingly strong. These formations develop where gentle water flow allows delicate structures to persist without breaking. The spacing between branches creates sheltered pockets where tiny invertebrates settle and feed. The frosted appearance arises from the coral's pale pigments and the way their surfaces scatter light. When illuminated by the morning sun, the entire colony can appear as though coated in a layer of shimmering ice. These unusual growth forms reveal how corals adjust their architecture to the quiet conditions of protected lagoons. Their presence adds beauty and complexity to habitats that rely on subtle interactions between flow, sediment, and light. Reef algae can switch to new energy sources in low light. When cloud cover, sediment, or depth reduces available sunlight, certain algae associated with reef environments shift their metabolic pathways to use alternative sources of energy. They may increase the use of stored compounds or enhance chemical processes that allow them to function with minimal light. This flexibility ensures that algae continue supporting themselves and their coral partners even during short periods of reduced illumination. The switch may involve changes in pigment concentrations or internal rearrangements that improve efficiency. These adjustments occur quickly and reverse once light becomes abundant again. This adaptability allows reefs to thrive through daily changes in weather, tidal shifts, and natural disturbances. The ability of algae to manage fluctuating conditions strengthens the coral-algae partnership and helps maintain stability in environments where sunlight varies more than expected. Coral colonies communicate through chemical signals. Across the surface of a colony, polyps release substances that inform neighboring polyps about changing conditions. These signals help coordinate feeding, tissue repair, and responses to threats. When one area encounters a predator or harmful particle, nearby polyps adjust their behavior accordingly, increasing mucus production or withdrawing delicate structures. During growth, chemical cues ensure that new polyps form in patterns that maintain the colony's shape. These signals also influence interactions between different colonies, helping them determine boundaries or recognize incompatible neighbors. The transfer of information through chemical gradients creates a level of coordination that allows corals to behave like unified organisms despite being composed of many individuals. This communication system supports complex behaviors that help corals adapt to their environment in ways that appear almost collaborative. Some reefs redirect ocean swells with massive buttress structures. In regions exposed to strong wave action, corals grow into sturdy ridges that angle outward from the reef, forming natural barriers that deflect incoming swells. These buttress formations break up waves before they reach delicate inner areas, protecting the reef's core from erosion and damage. The spaces between ridges channel water into predictable paths, guiding currents that carry plankton and sediments. This structure also creates alternating zones of turbulence and calm water, supporting diverse organisms that prefer different levels of movement. Over long periods, the ridges grow taller and wider, strengthening the reef's ability to withstand powerful storms. Their formation results from the combined action of coral growth, water flow, and sediment deposition. These natural defenses demonstrate how coral ecosystems engineer their own protection by creating architecture suited to challenging ocean conditions. The reefs of the Marshall Islands hold passes that guide migrations. Across this wide Pacific region, strings of atolls contain narrow natural openings that cut through their circular reef rims. These passes act as gateways connecting protected lagoons with the open ocean beyond. Many species of fish, sharks, rays, and drifting juveniles use these openings as regular pathways during their seasonal movements. The shape of the passes determines the speed and direction of water flow, creating predictable currents that animals learn to follow. During spawning seasons, large groups gather near these corridors to release eggs into the moving water, ensuring that developing larvae are carried into nutrient-rich zones outside the lagoon. Later, young fishes return through the same routes when they seek shelter among coral branches. The passes also deliver fresh plankton and oxygenated water into the interior, strengthening the health of the lagoon itself. Over generations, the organisms living in these islands have synchronized many of their movements with the gentle pulse of water rushing through these natural channels. Some corals build dense thickets that trap drifting food. In certain shallow regions where water moves at a steady pace, corals grow into tight clusters of branches that form maze-like thickets. The narrow spaces between the branches slow the flow of water enough to catch tiny drifting organisms. As plankton settles within the thicket, small fishes and invertebrates gather to feed in these well-stocked pockets. The coral benefits too, because its own polyps capture more passing food than they would in open water. These dense formations also offer shelter for young animals that hide among the branches to avoid predators. Over time, the thickets can become large enough to reshape the surrounding habitat, by altering current patterns and guiding sediments into specific areas. Their ability to trap both food and life illustrates how coral architecture functions as a living tool that shapes the flow of energy across the reef. Reef lagoons shelter fish that stay transparent for life. Within calm lagoons protected by surrounding reef walls, certain fish species remain nearly invisible from the moment they hatch until they reach adulthood. Their bodies contain minimal pigmentation, allowing light to pass through them instead of reflecting off their surfaces. This extreme transparency provides crucial protection in the still, clear waters where even small flashes of color can attract predators. These fish drift among seagrass clusters and coral fragments, relying entirely on a body that blends seamlessly with its surroundings. Their internal organs are arranged in ways that reduce visible shadows, and many hold themselves perfectly still to avoid detection. The gentle conditions within the lagoon allow them to maintain this delicate form without needing the armor or bright markings used by species in rougher waters. Their existence highlights how specific environments shape the evolution of traits that would be impossible in more turbulent habitats. Some corals create shadow patterns that influence fish behavior. The shapes of coral colonies alter the distribution of light across the seafloor, creating shifting mosaics of bright patches and shaded pockets. Many fish species respond to these patterns by choosing where to feed, hide, or rest based on the quality of the light. Small fish often gather in shaded zones that offer protection from predators above, while larger species patrol the brighter areas where prey become easier to spot. Some herbivorous fishes graze only along the boundary where light meets shade, taking advantage of algae that grow best in that intermediate zone. As the angle of the sun changes throughout the day, the patterns shift, and the movements of various species shift with them. These interactions show that even the shadows produced by coral structures play an important role in guiding the daily rhythm of life across the reef. Reef sponges house entire microcosms of small creatures. Inside the irregular chambers of living sponges, miniature ecosystems flourish well out of sight of the open reef. Tiny crustaceans, worms, and even small fishes find refuge within the sponge's porous body. The sponge continuously pumps water through its canals, creating streams that deliver food while flushing out waste. For the residents, this environment offers reliable nourishment, stable temperatures, and protection from larger predators. Each chamber can host its own mix of species, and interactions within these hidden spaces often differ from those seen in broader reef environments. The sponge benefits because many of these residents contribute to cleaning or clearing particles that might otherwise clog its internal passages. The combination of constant water flow and protected living space turns a single sponge into a complex habitat supporting countless interactions. These concealed communities highlight the many layers of life hidden within reef structures. Certain corals build protective rims around their colonies. Some coral species grow raised edges that form circular or oval rims surrounding their central structures. These elevated borders act like shields that reduce the force of incoming water and prevent sediments from smothering the more delicate tissues inside. The rims also create calm interior zones where polyps can feed without interference from strong currents. As the colony expands, the rim grows outward, maintaining its protective function through changing conditions. Small animals frequently settle along these raised edges, using the height for better access to drifting food. The overall shape of the colony reflects the balance between outward growth and the need to protect internal surfaces. These natural fortifications demonstrate how corals use architecture to manage their environment, building structures that address both survival and long-term stability. Some reefs support snails that farm their own algae. On certain coral outcrops, small snail species cultivate patches of algae that they harvest for food. They rasp away unwanted algae types to encourage the growth of specific species that provide the best nutrition. Their farming areas often appear as clean, circular patches on the reef surface, marked by the snails' constant tending. When other herbivores approach, the snails defend their gardens with surprising persistence, using slow but deliberate movements to push intruders away. The stable supply of algae allows the snails to remain in the same territory for long periods, forming tiny agricultural systems within the broader reef. These small-scale farms reveal how even the simplest organisms shape their environment through intentional action and long-term habits. Reef clouds of microplankton are invisible but essential. Although the water over a reef may appear clear, it is filled with microscopic organisms that form the base of many food webs. These microplankton include tiny algae, early life stages of invertebrates, and small drifting creatures that float between coral branches. Their presence supports a wide range of filter feeders, from sponges to small fishes, which rely on a constant supply of these particles for sustenance. Changes in current speed or direction can concentrate microplankton in specific areas, attracting entire groups of reef inhabitants that follow the shifting clouds. Even slight variations in the types or quantities of microplankton can influence which species thrive. These invisible drifts of life form a crucial link between sunlight-driven productivity and the many animals that depend on it. Without them, the reef's energy cycle would collapse. Some corals build channels that capture the force of lunar tides. As the gravitational pull of the moon guides the rise and fall of tides, certain reefs contain long, narrow channels that funnel the incoming and outgoing water. These formations often run perpendicular to the reef's edge, allowing tidal surges to flow through them with great strength. The enhanced movement brings fresh oxygen and nutrients deep into the reef interior. Corals positioned along the channel walls take advantage of the increased flow, expanding their tentacles to feed on suspended particles carried by the tide. The regular pulse of water shaped by lunar cycles strengthens the structure of the coral by promoting rapid deposition of new minerals. These channels demonstrate how reefs interact with celestial rhythms, turning the movement of the moon into a source of energy and nourishment. Coral reefs remain one of the most complex and poorly understood ecosystems on Earth. Despite decades of study, scientists continue to uncover new species, unexpected relationships, and hidden processes within these environments. The intricate architecture of coral structures creates countless microhabitats that each support their own communities. Biological interactions shift from day to night and from season to season in ways that researchers are still learning to track. Many chemical exchanges between animals, algae, and microbes unfold on scales too small for current instruments to measure fully. Large-scale patterns such as migrations, spawning events, and long-distance larval travel add additional layers of complexity. Even the physical structure of reefs changes gradually over time as corals grow, erode, reshape, and rebuild themselves. The continued mystery of these ecosystems is not a sign of ignorance, but a reflection of their richness. Every new discovery deepens appreciation for the subtle forces that maintain life within these extraordinary underwater worlds. As we drift to the end of our quiet journey, let your thoughts settle like soft sand returning to the ocean floor. You have traveled through a world shaped by color and movement, by tiny architects and ancient giants, by currents that whisper across continents and creatures that glow beneath the moonlit sea. Perhaps some part of you now carries a little more wonder than it did before. That is all these calm voyages hope to offer. A place to rest. A place to learn gently. A place where curiosity can unfold without hurry. If you enjoyed this peaceful exploration, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share your thoughts below. Each small gesture helps this channel find its way to others who might need a quiet moment of awe in their day. You are always welcome here, whenever you feel the pull of science wrapped in stillness. For now, let your breath slow. Let your mind loosen its grip. The reef fades into soft colors. The water grows warm and still. You can imagine the shapes settling into the dark, the currents easing, the last glimmers drifting upward like distant stars. You do not need to think about anything else. The next video will be here when you are ready to wander again. For now, simply rest in the gentle hush of the sea. Good night.